Basically, they found that it appears that black holes might have actually formed before stars did, right? And it's kind of overturning, if this is true, it overturns kind of some of our previous conceptions of how, our universe started and what our cosmological model really is. And so, I thought this was interesting, though, because one of my proponents that I've said is, like the Big Bang isn't something that happened in the past, it's continuing to happen now. The expansion is infinite, basically. And so, we're still in the Big Bang, like it hasn't stopped. And we look at these black holes, and as I've said, I believe that black holes and stuff, and as above, so below, basically we can look out at space, and when we're looking out at space, we are basically looking at matter on a scale that is, orders of magnitude larger than us. And so if we were the same size relative to atoms as we are to planets and galaxies and stuff, right? I believe that we would still see pretty much the same thing as we do out in space. And what I found interesting about this, this quote-unquote discovery, is that what they think is that it's actually the smaller black holes they've found are the ones that are oldest. It tends to be the older black holes are smaller, and the larger black holes are younger. And this is interesting because, after doing that, I'll just read what I have here. It appears that black holes formed before stars, and that larger black holes tend to be younger than smaller ones. This implies that protons first formed before electrons could, and lines up with hydrogen and then helium atoms forming. It also aligns with the assumed oldest matter in our universe being the most basic atoms with less mass, and the larger mass atoms we have today formed much later. And so what I'm saying with this basically is that these tiny black holes, right, that are the oldest, well, that is the lightest particles, right? It's the simplest, matter. And so that is our, helium that we see as helium atoms, as we are, and hydrogen atoms, right, which is just a single proton, right? So protons would form first because that's hydrogen, right? And then after hydrogen forms, then we can start to also get helium forming, right? Because in order to get helium, you need to have hydrogen, because hydrogen is just a proton, right? And so you get these hydrogen atoms forming, and then after hydrogen forms, then you can evolve into getting helium and stuff, right? So in order for this to happen, right, the black holes are akin to protons, basically, or the nucleuses of atoms, potentially, right? And so, in order to create, the black holes, right, they must, or in order for stars to form, the black hole must first, be there. And what the black hole does is it kind of helps draw in matter. And from this process, the matter consolidates, at a faster rate, and we end up with stars and planets and all this stuff, right? And so when you look at every, galaxy, we find that in the center of all these galaxies, there's black holes. There's supermassive black holes in the center of all these galaxies, to my understanding. And so I think the reason for this is because by black holes being there, it allows the mass to consolidate more, right? So by basically putting a big, vacuum, as I've said, basically putting a big vacuum into, your, jug of water, you can suck all the water out, right? And it'll be a lot faster than it just slowly evaporating out of there, right? And so, basically, what I'm saying is that this discovery, to me, lines up with my theory and makes a lot of sense when you're looking at it from that perspective. And I'm basically relating stars and things along those lines to electrons because, to be honest, I don't know exactly if that's wise. I guess would be a good term. I don't know if that's wise to make that comparison, but I don't think that these things need to necessarily be one-to-one, like every star is an electron, 100%, but I think that they behave similarly, right? It's just that it's on different scales, it's different orders of magnitude, it's different levels, and a lot of that kind of gets out of our comprehension because we only see the reality that we live in, which is, mass and solid matter, right? We don't think about, we're like dark energy. What the heck is dark energy? We don't know. And then there's, dark matter. And we're like, what's dark matter? We don't know, right? And I think that it's just, we're working on different, frames here. And if we look at everything as everything kind of does have mass and everything does have energy. It's just at different ratios. And then, going into these different, different directions, we are kind of, it's not a one-to-one comparison because the conditions of our reality are a set level of, like a set speed for time, I would say, and then like causality is kind of set at a certain level for us. Just like depending on where you are on Earth, the gravity is at like a set level, right? Like you have like a certain like air pressure and all that kind of stuff is set at a certain height on the planet. So, I think that it's something along those lines. Like, I don't know exactly, right? But I just thought that this was interesting, and so I wanted to talk about it because I felt like it tied in well with some of my previous statements, and so I just wanted to kind of, put it out there. Yeah, so peace out.